go. She's on 5 to 7, 9 to 10 p.m. Fallback Productions. Talks about topics of the day and loves her country, the U.S. of A. Got her Get Right rally on tax day. Got family country Trump is her thing. She don't know the songs, gives Dave a hard time. Don't worry, it's fine, he's still her Valentine. Keeps us in the loop, don't you know? Sit back and enjoy the Lucretia Hughes Show.
Woo! Well, look at there. Y'all should have seen their face behind the camera. So welcome to the last day of the NRA 2025 convention. I had a great time. Back hurt. Thighs hurt. Feet hurt. Calf muscles are sore.
Calf muscles.
So y'all know what to do.
Back.
It is Cash App, Lucretia Hughes 44. What you need, girl? A Long Island iced tea or 3, okay?
Or
4. Because it's like, we did a great job. We held our own. I've been down here since Wednesday, but I can tell y'all this. I have not walked this whole entire floor. There's no way. There's no way until you see everything. The Christie, Mayberry Bennett, everybody. There's no way we can walk this whole entire place.
No, I tried. I've been helping you since Friday. Well, I got here late Friday, and I helped you all day yesterday. I tried today to walk to get everything in, and I'm like, nah.
Now we understand why they're saying this place is huge.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm thinking there's over 600 vendors.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So everywhere you look, it is 2A strong. It's patriotism strong.
Yeah.
Did you see the guy in the glitter jacket with Trump on it?
I bought some bling bling there.
You bought? Okay, so this is what the guy was wearing.
Yeah.
But I thought it was gorgeous.
Oh yeah.
So how you really like it, Christy?
I love it. It's this. Oh yeah. I wish I would have come sooner. Actually, I wish I'd have.
What, Thursday?
No, I mean come to a NRA convention.
Well, next year we're gonna be in Houston.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for helping me campaign.
Oh yeah. No problem.
So even though I did not win the board of directors seat, they saying try again next year. I don't think I'm gonna. I think I like the membership.
Yeah.
I like the membership committee. I like the outreach committee. And with the board of directors, you're gonna be in a meeting for 16 hours. I don't think I have the temperament for that. But to get out here and actually talk to people and really have a conversation with the grassroots and regular Americans to try to explain about their rights, that is my role. So I know I can bring new people into the NRA because I feel like everyone needs to know about their gun rights.
Right.
So, Christy,
I should have cut my phone
Lisa,
off.
Charles Hook, hey everybody. Mayberry Bennett is in the house. Like I said, this is the last day, and it ends at 5, and it's gonna be great. You got Mike here, you got Pastor Dave here, you got the Dave here. So we did a good job, everybody. That's all I'm saying. We did a great job, and I can say there has not been any hateration on any of the NRA posts that I put up. So maybe that's a good thing.
I haven't seen any protesters.
Protest where?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Protest where?
That's what I'm saying. I haven't seen any.
For them to always want to talk about our guns and taking away our gun rights.
Yeah.
Why is this the safest place on earth right now? Well, what are mass shooters? What are mass shooters? I'm waiting. We all waiting for mass shooting at the NRA convention. For the left narrative is always guns are bad. Guns are bad.
Yeah.
There's Mark Robinson. There are thousands and thousands of guns here. Where's the mass shootings? I just always wanted to know that because it has not been. But there's no protest in Georgia. I mean, if there is, what's 2-3 people keying Teslas?
Yeah,
so no, this was one of the best I've been to.
Yeah.
We didn't have to worry about nobody calling us out our name. I didn't see an 18-wheeler roll by saying, we hate Trump and guns. I didn't see any of that.
No.
I didn't see anybody come over here and take their psychotropic drug, Field Mine, and spray the whole hall. No one did any of that. There's people walking around with loaded guns everywhere while you got displays of guns, and more guns.
Yeah.
So, again, where is the left getting this narrative that guns are bad? And not the people behind the guns, but they're allowed to have the guns.
Oh, yeah.
And their security details are allowed to have the guns. But we're supposed to not have guns. We're not supposed to stand up for our Second Amendment, because I keep saying the Second Amendment protects the rest.
Yes.
Charles Hook, get on over there, give me a Long Island iced tea. It's been a long week, y'all. So we did the best we could. Big picture on a banner. I did not win the board of directors, but I would love now to be on the membership committee, because I want to get out there and really talk to people about the 2A and about bringing them back.
Yeah.
So I hate to ask you this because Chuck don't know, but he is now. Chuck, she spent your money on some gifts. Can you tell people what you got? You ain't,
well, one
you ain't
I
gotta
can't
say everything, but tell them
I
one
got
of
him a Father's Day gift.
Tell them what really drew your attention and what you purchased here on the floor.
They have about everything. Like some things I didn't even know. Well, I kind of heard of some things, but I didn't really know what they were. I know a lot of you gun people out there do know, but like there had these cool conversion kits, like that you can put your handgun up into it, and it looks like a machine gun or AR-15, and it turns your handgun into a. The guy, the way he described it, it makes it 100-yard a better shot, and it was so cool looking. I was like, oh my gosh, that is so cool. And I got their card, and there are some safes. Safes here. I really wanted a safe because I babysit my grandbabies now, and I always have a gun there for protection for them, and I was really needing a box for that to keep them safe, for them not to get a hold of it. So there was some boxes there that I really liked there. Instead of the fingerprint one, it was pretty cool. It had 4 things you pushed in, and it said 81 combinations you could do, and so they had it set up to where I had to press the first and third and lift at the same time. And
so it's more difficult for Dixie and them not to get into.
Exactly. And they sold a mounted wall version, a car version, and just the regular box. And so those are pretty neat.
And tell everybody where you actually from.
I'm from Mount Airy, North Carolina. Mayberry.
Yes. That's where we get Mayberry. So if you're listening to the introduction to the actual show, this is Mayberry.
It's me. It's my little.
I just appreciate you coming out here and helping us out and enjoying yourself. And
yeah, I gotta help my sister out.
And I gotta say this for everybody that was in the room with us, we all saw logs. That's all I'm saying. So nobody was fussing at anybody about snoring. We walked a lot.
Yes.
We walked a lot, y'all. We researched a lot. We've talked to a lot of people. We walked. Yes. The World Congress Center is huge. I haven't been all over the place, and I don't want to. I know that sounds bad, but I don't want to walk. Right now, we're in what is this, aisle 600?
Yeah. And
there's aisles 5,000s. I'm not going that far. I mean, my dogs are now barking.
Didn't somebody say there was a Bass Pro Shop?
Bass Pro Shop is way.
I didn't even see it.
On the other side.
I didn't even see it. I went all the way down there, but I didn't even see it. I didn't see it.
I said, forget about it. That's all I can do.
Yeah.
But Christy.
Yeah.
Mark Robinson.
That's what I was going to say. Do you want him over here? Get him over here.
Well, let's get her first, and then we'll bring Mark. Because she's been here patiently waiting.
Okay.
Hey, Amy, what's going on out there? Thank you, Dave, for putting up the links. And all week long, I have had to deal with 2 Daves. Dave 1, Dave 2. So when people like Dave, I'm thinking they always talking about my Dave, but we got a Pastor Dave here too. So it's kind of confusing, but he is going to be starting his own media company. He's going to be looking for fresh voices of faith, guns, freedom, families. So that is something that we're going to be working very closely with him with, and we're also going to be whoever want to come. You gotta go. Whoever want to come up. Are we gonna come on, Mark?
How about both of them?
Who?
Both of them at the same time?
Yeah, come on over here, both of y'all at the same time if you want to.
Yeah, they got two chairs. They got one over
Hold
there.
on for one moment. Both of y'all, because y'all both board members.
They got two chairs over there. Yeah.
You gonna come back? Okay. Well, hey!
Hi.
We have a board of directors member right now. She is getting seated down. Like I said, this is live, everybody. So it is what it is.
Hi, Lucretia. Oh, it's good to see you.
This is, okay, tell everybody, because I know who you are. This is Miss Kathy, and that's what I always call her. But tell everybody who you are, give them a little bit of background,
Okay.
and then your very important role in the NRA and what you want to see further in the future for the NRA.
Okay. I'm Kathy Wright, and I am a current board member for the National Rifle Association. But the reason I got involved with the NRA on a board level is because I've been a frontline activist leader for the Institute for Legislative Action. I do grassroots advocacy. And that is what's so important, to educate the people about the issues that deal with the Second Amendment, educate the people about candidates who are pro-Second Amendment, and get the people out to vote and get the people to become active in their state legislatures. I lobby on behalf of Second Amendment issues in our state, and I live in Maryland.
Yeah.
Which is not a very gun-friendly state.
You know he's right over there getting ready to run for governor of Maryland.
Well, maybe.
Oh, he's here, Mr. Merrick. He drove he flew down here this morning.
Really?
He is the front runner Republican for the
my
state.
Merrick. Yes.
He's right over there.
Wonderful.
He came down here just to be here, and we're gonna walk around with him to get B-roll shots to help him with his campaign, because what y'all have up there right now
It's tough. It's
and then
very
what
tough.
he did you hear? He's advocating, your sitting governor is advocating not only to take more of your gun rights away, but advocating to bring those people back from El Salvador.
Yes, I know. Keeping our state unsafe.
Yes.
Unsafe.
So he wants to make it safe.
Yeah. The good news is this past legislative session is we worked really hard to stop some bad gun control bills. But I think for two reasons. One, they were dealing with a $5.5 billion deficit after, a $3.3 billion deficit following a $5 billion excess. Larry Hogan had built up our reserves.
How do you go from $5 billion in the positive to under $3.5 billion in the negative?
Spend more money than you're bringing in. Spend money on things that are not necessary, not keeping us safe, and goodness knows what else he's doing. So the other good news is, because we were able to stop some bad gun control legislation, is that they are passing unconstitutional bills on the state level, and we have to sue them.
Are we going to fight as an organization?
Well, there are lots of organizations that are fighting. The NRA, state associations, Maryland Shall Issue. We couldn't do it without the NRA, obviously, and that's the good news. They don't have the money to fight any more of these lawsuits.
Oh, wow.
So therefore, it was a good legislative year. Nothing bad happened.
Can you make your governor a lame duck? I know he said that y'all don't have the ability to recall him. So what do? You just sit there and pray that he don't crash and burn your state before they're out?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, he's already crashed and burned our state. However, I think he wants to run for the presidency.
Him? Oh, wow.
He's kind of an Obama wannabe.
But he's just a one-termer right now. They don't look like he's going to win the second term when you have 76% of the citizens of Maryland that wants law and order back in their states.
I don't know that. I
got that from Mr. Mayor.
Okay, very good. Well, I'm just sticking to my guns, so to speak, and I'm working really hard to develop good grassroots network around the state. I'll go anywhere and talk to people about what Isla does for the NRA, for you to protect your Second Amendment. So I'll talk to any group.
And y'all do know she don't get paid. This is a voluntary position, and she's been out there not just with the NRA, she's been out there a long time. When it become an advocacy, it's not overnight. This is something that she's been doing for years and years and years that has accumulated, not only for you to have networks all over Maryland, but you know the position of how to talk to people with questions that have those questions without shunning them away.
Right. I did this in North Carolina beginning in 2016, and then 3 years ago we moved up to Maryland. So I'm beginning all over again. I got to establish my network.
I would say bring the network that you already established and bring them there. Or all the conservative organizations, conservative organizations, Turning Point, anything that don't have a voice, start with them first and build that pipeline of networking around Maryland, because it can't be just blue. There's no blue states, there are only blue cities. And that's the way I look at it. So a lot of people in the rural areas, a lot of people in suburbia lost their voices to major cities. So I would focus back on those mom and pops, those granddaddies, those grandmothers that lost their voice because of what major cities have done to them. And they are the bread and butter of any state in our 50 continuous states.
You're right.
How do you start with a phone law? Do you start with emailing, or just picking up and going to meetings?
Picking up my phone, reaching out to people who I think might be interested in hearing our message about protecting the Second Amendment. I have reached out to various Republican women's clubs, and they've invited me to come talk. Now, of course, the Democrats have invited me, but I'll come if you ask me to come. I'll go to gun clubs.
Did my eyes roll in the back of my head? Go ahead. I don't know why they want to destroy it. You would figure out with the Democrat Party, and they're supposed to be other people. It's like they're ignoring the people now. It used to be always that the Republicans are for the rich folks. Well, I know that's a lie. It's more, and I ran across a video today, it's more of the Democrats now aren't the party for the poor man, for the little man, for red, white, and blue. They're not. It's more of the money grab globalists. And we know for a fact the globalist agenda is for us to be disarmed. And it's just like, John Rich said last night, there's a gun behind every blade of grass. And it's sad that there's so many restrictions, not only at a state level, but the federal level, restricting our gun rights. How do we get that back? Just continue fighting to the Supreme Court? You just smiling.
I think I'll call our grassroots efforts, we're crabgrass. We're underfoot and we're everywhere.
Ooh. Wait, it's not the crabgrass. What takes hold and don't let go? Kudzu.
We're kudzu?
We're kudzu. You can't get rid of us. We just keep growing. You can, cut us back, but we're going to come back with a vengeance. And that is what grassroots are. And the grassroots, to me, is everyday Americans, no matter your race, creed, or color. And right now, with the temperature of politics in America, we got to be more open-armed to the Democrats that have lost their way and now looking at us to ask questions. And I'm talking about people like the Blue Dog Democrats that isn't out there anymore. People that are in my mom age group. People that are waking up to the lies that are going on in the political arena. We just need someone out there to be able to explain it to them in layman's terms And then also teach them about the Constitution, because without the Second Amendment, it protects the rest. So if you get rid of that, we're easily to be overtaken, and our Constitution will be taken away also.
And we can't become complacent because we have a pro-Second Amendment president.
Right.
And supposedly a pro-Second Amendment Congress. We cannot be complacent. We need to get out there and join organizations that have good grassroots efforts. And the NRA's Institute for Legislative Action is that one.
The NRA right now is having a drive for new members, to bring new members. There are different discounts for you and your family. You could do a 1 year, you could do life and keep moving up. But we really, really need for y'all to get back into the game before we lose our rights, because once you've lost a right, you can never get it back. And one thing that they really want to get rid of is the 2A, because the 2A protects not only the Bill of Rights, but the Constitution and our borders. So we know right now politicians have lost their way. It's time for the grassroots of every walk of life to band together across the states and get our country back. So, Miss Kathy,
It's
thank
so
you.
good to see you.
Thank you so much for
You're
coming.
welcome.
I appreciate it. My
Okay.
feet hurt. Try to get me on the membership committee. Okay, then. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's what you got. Pastor Dave, come on over here and have a seat, please. What's wrong, Dave? Hey there, what's going on, Miss Glennis? How you doing? Hey, Don Dodge, how you doing? Remember, Cash App Lucretia Hughes 44. One more time. Cash App Lucretia Hughes 44. I've been here since Wednesday. Lucretia, stop that. I've been here since Wednesday. I'm gonna need a Long Island iced tea after this. I don't care who get it, how they get it, if they make it and walk it to Georgia. Please, in about, because the convention is over at 5 o'clock.
But we're still here.
Hook a sister up. Everybody, I want to introduce you who is going to be not only our next partner when it comes to media, but also a pastor, a mentor, and someone even, we've been sharing a room together. Me, Dave, believe it or not, Mike, and pastor. The word of God flows. Talking, it flows. And I would rather have Pastor Dave in the media world to make sure they even kill with what's the satanic narrative that is happening out there right now. So, Pastor Dave, welcome.
Well, I'm glad to be here in Atlanta. I'm glad to be here at the NRA convention. Glad to be working with you and Dave. When I heard you speak in Gainesville, I thought, I like what that girl's saying, and we need to hook up, because we at Street Level America really have that passion to save America. I've been in media for about 47 years now, and my role has just been to stand back and report the facts. But when I started to get very active and participating was when I saw so many really strange things going on. Whoever thought in America you could lose your job by saying a man can't have a baby, or misgendering a person, or let's say a person comes to work and they want to be a chipmunk today and you don't address them as a chipmunk, then you can lose your job. That's insanity. And that's where we've gone as a nation. And so...
What do you think happened to journalism, and when did you see a change?
I've seen it happening gradually, but it's really speeded up. And it's to the point where people who own broadcast outlets and networks think that they're doing a good thing. And I've seen this happen for the last, I would say, steadily over the last 10, 15 years, but more speedily now. They think that, and they want to control the news and information. And I've experienced it on the local level where an owner, how much do I go deep into this?
Only what God tell you to say.
Okay, because I don't want to embarrass anybody.
Well, don't call any names.
And I don't want to be sued. But when an owner of a radio station tells you that your news department is to sell a specific project or idea, and that's your role.
That's propaganda.
Well, as news reporters, the news reporters are saying, hey, we have a passion for sharing the truth and the story. I'll give you an example. There was we shared about this morning. There was a couple who lost their son who was tortured to death in Iraq. The husband, the father, said, the only reason I was able to survive this was my faith in Jesus Christ. The news director at the station I worked at, and I wrote the story, I produced the story, and the morning show, it was edited out, the reference to Jesus, and the reason that saved him, his mental well-being. I was reporting on the news that day. I was anchoring the news. I ad-libbed it back into the story. It was my story. The news director called me on the carpet and said, why did you put that back in? I edited it out. I'm the news director. I said it was my story. Let's go talk to the owner or the manager of the radio station. And the manager supported me. My point is this, that there are reporters across the nation on the local level and national level that are being told this is how you're going to report the story. And if you don't, you're in trouble. So I think there's a lot of well-meaning journalists, and I think we need to pray for those in authority, that's what the Bible says, in positions of government, but also in the news media, because there are journalists such as me that are in a position of, do I report what I know to be the truth or what my boss is telling me to say? And that's a sad state where the fourth estate has always been the role of journalism, to talk about just purveying the facts. We are going to tell you what happened, and you, as the public, have to make up your mind. Now, in the story selection, and we talk about this on the SLA morning show and on my morning show, we pull apart the news stories of the day and show you how the news media is dictating the narrative.
Right.
They're selling a position. They are now a propaganda source, and they are not a purveyor of facts and information, as evidenced by surveys out there saying that the American public is losing their faith in conventional media. We're seeing that in the presidential election. When President Trump went on the Joe Rogan podcast.
That was one of the biggest watched podcasts at that time.
Right, and that was a major, I think, force in getting him reelected. I think the biggest force was him getting shot in Butler, Pennsylvania. But I think his presentation on the Rogan podcast reached America. And the White House press staff is now having a media position or seats that they've opened up for what are called new media. The NRA has done this with the Voices of the Second Amendment. So we are seeing that the carriers of the fourth estate, if you will, the purveyors of information to the American public, are no longer traditional media, no longer the networks, no longer the alphabet soup, no longer ABC, CBS, NBC, MSDNC, the Cartoon News Network, as I call them, or CNN, yeah. And it's now become podcasters. It's become, and people will be attracted to news sources that they believe. And they simply don't believe what the news media is telling them. Over time, when you're told things like, if you get the vaccine, you can't get COVID, when you're told that the borders are closed, when they're just reciting the narrative, and journalists can be a bit lazy. They can get a news release and they can just go back and read the news release. Here is what the White House is saying, blah, 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 blah. Did you, what was the show of Robin Williams? Good Morning Vietnam.
Yes,
Good Morning Vietnam. So what?
We are really aging ourselves.
Oh yeah, but in that show, he would go on mic and he was given a prepared, this is what Armed Forces Radio is telling you to say, and he would make fun of his propaganda. Well, that same kind of thing is happening in corporate media.
Yes.
And I'm very excited to see citizen journalists, much like citizen patriots when we were fighting for our freedom from England. Citizen journalists are now picking up the torch and becoming the fourth estate and the purveyor of news and information. People along this row right here have a passion to find out the truth and to share the truth. And the American public is gravitating to that because they feel like they're telling me the truth because it's matching what's going on.
Just look at what happened during the scamdemic of it all, how we was lied to on a consistent, everyday basis. And one thing that I was raised on is that you question everything.
Right. The Bible says to.
I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
But then you all of a sudden within 2020, you can't question no one.
Or you get fired.
No, they should have waited till we all was dead and gone, and the only thing that was left was our grandchildren. Maybe they would have been able to overtake us then, but how are you going to tell Gen Xers? I hate calling y'all boomers. I really do. That sucks to me. But and the greatest generation to shut up, sit down, forget everything that was raised on, patriotism, God, family, country, America first, because that's what we was raised with.
Right. Oh yeah.
Guns in the back of our cars, going to high school.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, we're supposed to fall lock in step with the 6 corporate media conglomerates that are globalists. And then you start lying about the medical when they said all deaths must be counted ex COVID-19. I said, who's the fool? Because it definitely is not me.
We talked to a lot of people in the medical community who had said that you had a patient who died and may have extenuating circumstances, but if they even had COVID, they put it as a COVID death. They may have had a heart attack.
They was getting, what was it? If you had a positive test, it was $19,000. If they put you on a ventilator, it was $39,000, $49,000. They was propositioning physicians.
Right.
They was getting paid at least over $20,000 per shot that they was recommended to their patients.
And
then the Hippocratic Oath means nothing, and neither do they oath of office, because even our lawmakers went lock in step with that. That's like lock in step with trying to take away our Second Amendment, lock in step with trying to take the First Amendment. And when you ask people about the First Amendment, they only mention one thing when it covers 5 different things. So if we don't teach or tell people about, the Bill of Rights, our
right.
Constitution,
right.
What we're living for,
sure.
When we're gone, it's gone too.
Right. And people, now folks, don't be offended by what I am about to say.
He's not going to offend y'all. Go ahead.
But don't be lazy. It can be lazy to say, okay, well, as long as they send me my check, my Social Security check, my whatever check from the government, and as long as they keep food on the table and whatever, I'll just do whatever they say.
That sounds like apathy.
It is.
Apathetic.
And we have gotten to the point where in America we have a lot of freedoms, and we've gotten a little bit on the lazy side. We need to, and freedom is like a muscle. We have to exercise it or we're going to lose it. People don't want to get involved in politics. Politicians will make rules that you may not agree with. They will make a rule that Johnny can come home from school and say, I want to be Jane, and the teacher says you have to pay for it. And you're going to say, well, this is America. And the school's going to come, well, this is the new America. And you're going to say, what happened? What happened is you abdicated your role as a participating member of society to get involved in politics. And sometimes when people, especially in church, say, I really don't want to get involved in politics. You know where I'm going with this. Yes. I want a separation of church and state. Read the Declaration of Independence. The first 2 paragraphs, we talked about that this morning, mentions God in the first 2 paragraphs. Capital G, singular God, and C, creator. In the defining document, the first document that created the United States of America, we mentioned God twice in the first document, first 2 paragraphs. Don't tell me America is not a Christian nation or was founded as a Christian nation. We've kind of lost our way a little bit, but we can get it back.
Thank you so much, Pastor.
All right, we're looking forward to doing more with you and Dave.
Yes.
And one of the things that
Go ahead.
Okay, we're putting together, one of the things we want to do is get the voices of common sense out there, the voices of governance, the voices of America, this proud nation, which I believe is the greatest nation on God's green earth. We need to pick up the torch of getting voices out to America, telling them about America, its positive values, how you get involved in government, what's going on, because the mainstream media isn't telling you that. What we're working on doing is getting podcasters like Real News with Lucretia Hughes, Roy Hambrick, the Small Town Underground, and others, the Maisel Duncan Radio Show, and put them on a network, satellite-delivered network, that we can beam them to radio stations across the country. And they work with radio stations and putting program content on the stations that people can find the real news with. And we're working on that. The website is up. It's called the USA 1776 Network.net. That name was reached because 1776 was the start of the United States of America. We want to get back to those principles of freedom and democracy and liberty. We want to get back to teaching people about the Constitution, what the First Amendment says, why the Second Amendment is important. And we cannot any longer treat the Constitution as a smorgasbord and redefine it. And when we're redefining what a woman is, when we have a Supreme Court justice say, I can't define a woman, you got a problem. And so we have to get back to basic definitions that we've known for years. What a man is, what a woman is, what the Second Amendment is, what George Washington is, the heritage and the wonderful leader he was as America. You have people out there telling you that George Washington owned slaves and was terrible. You're having people out there saying Donald Trump is ruining America. You have people saying Elon Musk is ruining America. And he is losing net worth trying to keep this nation from going bankrupt. We got to get involved. So the network is called the USA 1776 Network.net. The website is up. You'll find examples of the podcasts that we want to beam out to other radio stations. So we'll continue to grow the network and work with podcasters to grow it on the internet, but also into broadcast radio. If you're a radio station owner and you're interested, go to that website, USA 1776 Network.net. Send me an email, Dave at USA1776network.net, or call us at 423-561-1776. 423-561-1776. These are voices celebrating America, and we're very proud to be with Lucretia and Dave.
Thank you.
Dave
so
won.
much.
He wants to be called Super Dave, but I think we're still working on it.
No, that's my mom. My mom called, don't blow his head up. My mom
Okay.
called him Super Dave. That not me. I call him Dave or James David Klukin, depending on what he did.
Okay.
Thank you so
All
much,
right,
Pastor.
thank you.
Mike, you want to do it, or are you gonna go get me a turning point? Next. Come on over.
We're waiting.
Come on over. Oh, he's doing an interview. That's somebody, anybody, everybody, and they screen.
Her husband has my phone. I want to show you a video that I took of you dancing.
Me dancing? Oh, Lord. I did a two-step.
You did the two-step?
I probably did. At
Okay.
least it wasn't twerking, because I ain't got nothing back there to twerk. Hey there. Hey, Mary Ruth. How you doing? Always enjoy your videos. Thank you, Mary. I just really want to do a great job. Hey, JM. How you doing out there? US 1776network.net, or call... no, he got it down. He got it down.
423-561-1776.
He got it right
So
there.
we want to grow this network and Voices Celebrating America. Hey, we've got a lot of podcasters here. Just, folks, patriot farmers left the fields to fight for the freedom of America. And we are to the point where patriot journalists, citizen journalists, are doing a better job at reporting the facts than people who have degrees in broadcast journalism. Part of the reason has been forced to tell a different narrative. So, anyway, that's why we're starting the network. And this is live. You gotta love live. If it ain't live, it ain't happening. So, there you go. Looking forward to where we're going in the future. One of the things that motivates me, if we're waiting for guests, okay, is I see a little kid walking with their parents, like a 10-year-old child.
There's kids all over the place down here at the NRA convention.
And I'm wondering, what kind of a nation are they going to have in 20 years? Here's what keeps me up at night. So let's say, do we need to cut? Okay, so let's say, here's the conversation I don't want to have in talking about grandchildren. Let's say I grew up in a little town called Payette, Idaho. We'd have 4th of July, we'd go over to grandma's house and have apple pie and root beer floats, and we'd have a parade. We had the Boomerang Day parade, and we'd celebrate America. We'd celebrate, everybody would applaud when the Army float would go by, and we all loved America. At the evening, we'd have fireworks, and we thought, man, this is the greatest nation on the earth. We go to grandma's house, and we drink root beer floats. We have a baseball game, and this is America. Love it. And let's say 20 years from now, all of our doors are locked up, you hear gunfire outside, and you're telling your kids, grandkids, 20 years from now, this is what America used to be like. We used to go to grandma's house and be out in the backyard. Nobody shot us. And we'd have root beer floats, we'd have baseball games, we'd have fireworks at night, and we all would stand and salute the flag and sing the national anthem. Meanwhile, 20 years from now, gunfire is outside, and the kids turn to me and say, how come we can't have that country that you grew up with?
Because apathetic parents.
And that keeps me up at night. And I thought about that, and so I see these kids walking by, and I'm thinking, what kind of a nation are they going to have in 20 years? And that's why we do what we do. That's why we come out here and put extra effort, put our own money into it, put our own time into it. That's why we do this, because we care about this nation. That's why the NRA does what they do. That's why we are here sharing news and information. That's why we do this, because we care about this country. So, amen.
You're not going anywhere. You're just going behind the camera.
Okay, I'll go push buttons.
All right then. Hello there, everybody. He came all the way from Maryland. He came from Tennessee. Pastor Dave did. So, anybody? Like I said, y'all get over there. Cash App Lucretia Hughes 44. Cash App Lucretia Hughes 44. Cash App Lucretia Hughes. Yeah, go get me a long guy and I see. There we go. Hey, Kathleen. So, everybody, our next guest came all the way from Maryland. Now, if you haven't been paying attention to the politics in Maryland right now, there's a very heated race because y'all got an idiot of a governor. Well, we have the next sitting governor that's coming up in 2026. Mr. John, go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone.
Lucretia, thank you. I'm John Myrick, and I'm the Republican candidate for governor of the state of Maryland.
How you feel to be around all these guns?
I love it.
Yeah,
It's like being a kid.
A lot of restrictions on gun rights.
Yeah, they do, but it's like being a kid in a candy store down here. This is great. I love it.
Did you go around and feel some, caress them, and call them George?
Oh, yeah.
Did you
Oh, yeah.
actually try to did you buy one?
No, because I can't get back on the airplane with them.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
So that means you would have to drive. Now, you know,
Yes.
you got a lot of footage down here surrounded by guns, and more guns. Do you feel like that's going to be a talking point to the left and your opponent because you stand more for our rights and they don't?
I mean, it could be, but the bottom line there is, the Second Amendment is part of our U.S. Constitution, and as the governor of Maryland, I am not only honor bound, but I am legally bound to uphold and defend the U.S. Constitution and the Constitution of the state of Maryland. And that means all of it. You don't get to pick and choose which parts of it you like and which parts you don't. You've got to enforce it all.
Now, what are some policies that you would like to see change from what has happened so far? Do you think you can reverse a lot of it?
Yes, I think a lot of the problems in Maryland are easily reversible, quite frankly. It just takes somebody who, first off, cares enough to do it, who's not looking to use the office as a stepping stone for something else, as our current governor is. And it also takes somebody to apply some common sense and decent judgment. And I think I bring that to the table. Fiscal responsibility, key example. Our current governor took a $5.5 billion surplus 24 months ago and has run us into a $3.5 billion deficit in just 2 years.
Can you explain how he even did that?
I wish I could. And what's more important is he can't, and he won't. Either he can't or he won't.
That's a lot of money to
Now-
blow through, sir.
Yeah, now we do know that $2.9 billion of that last year was spent on unlawful aliens.
He just did something very ridiculous Friday. Was it Friday?
It was?
I thought the oath of office for any governor would be to uphold for their state constitution, and their citizens within.
Indeed.
How did he come out here Friday to say he is sticking up for illegals over the citizens of Maryland?
That is a question that I called his office after I saw that press release go out. I called his office and I left a message for him because you can't talk to a human being when you call our governor's office. Now again, that will change once I'm governor. But right now, when you call the governor's office, you get to leave a voicemail. So I left a, shall we say, fairly tersely worded voicemail for the governor, asking him pretty much that same question. What are you thinking? This individual is an unlawful criminal alien who has a history of being a member of a designated terrorist organization. And you are upholding, or they're thinking that you are upholding his rights over the rights of people in Maryland. We've had 3 women in the past 28 months murdered at the hands of illegal aliens in Maryland alone. Where's his concern for their families and for those victims?
Right. Or even for the taxpayers.
Or for the taxpayers of Maryland, for that matter. None whatsoever. This has got to stop. 76% of Marylanders, according to the latest polls, want all unlawful aliens deported from the state of Maryland. Now, it's not just the criminal aliens. They want all of them gone. 76%. How do you ignore 76% of your population?
Maybe they're not looking at the polls. Maybe they're not caring about what the constituent says.
It's clear they don't care about what the constituents say. I mean,
then how is he trying to run for president of the United States if he can't even handle his own state?
Again, an excellent question. But again, you know, when you look at other people who have presidential aspirations, people like Gavin Newsom in California, and we know what a train wreck California is as a state. Gavin Newsom's run them into the ground too. So if that's the model that he's using, I understand his point of view. I do. I guess you don't have to be a good governor to think that you can be a good president, although I think one goes hand in hand.
But Maryland isn't a poor state.
No,
when it comes to the taxes and everything else, I don't understand how any governor would want to spend willy-nilly. Oh, that was so country. Spend willy-nilly the surplus to be in a deficit, and then you got to go back to the constituents and put more taxes on their backs.
They passed the largest tax increase in Maryland history during this legislative session. Nearly $2 billion of new taxes, $1 billion of that on businesses in the state of Maryland. He's going to bankrupt the state doing this. They're already talking about next year's budget deficit already being $5 billion. Where's that money going to come from?
Yes.
I don't know.
The feds are, President Trump ain't giving it to you.
No, and again, you've got a governor who says he can't work with this president. Well, the federal government is Maryland's largest employer. 320,000 Marylanders get their paychecks from the federal government. So if you can't work with our largest employer, you better figure it out. Or you better step aside and let somebody who can work with them do it.
Absolutely.
Because we can't keep hemorrhaging federal jobs. We have lost project after project after project, millions upon millions of dollars coming into the state from federal cuts because he can't work with this president. Bureau of Engraving and Printing, the people that make our money, were supposed to move from Washington, D.C. to suburban Maryland. $1.9 billion project, canceled. FBI was supposed to move their headquarters out from D.C. to Greenbelt, Maryland, about 3 miles from my house. 29,000 jobs, tens of millions of dollars in tax revenues, canceled. National Institute of Health is headquartered in Rockville, Maryland. They've lost 20,000 jobs out of NIH since the Trump administration took charge.
And he can't work.
He can't work with our largest employer. We keep hemorrhaging these jobs. What are these people going to do for work? Because there's no private sector jobs for them to do in Maryland, so they're going to have to move. Well, what happens when they move? You lose those tax dollars.
Yes, you do. And it's not friendly to businesses. So instead of talking about your opposition, what are your goals? What do you want to see to bless the citizens of Maryland?
Well, clearly the first thing I want to see is an accounting of where our money's being spent. I have been an advocate for that long before there was a Doge. I want to see a line-by-line accounting of Maryland state budget to find out where our tax dollars are going, because Maryland taxpayers have the right to know. They have the right to know where their money's being spent. And where there is waste, we will cut it. Where there is fraud, I will prosecute it. because nobody steals Marylanders' money on my dime. That's not going to happen. Secondly, I want to repeal some of these ridiculous business taxes that they have put on the people of Maryland. A great example of that, one of our state delegates, Democrat state delegates, is the vice chair of our Economic Matters Committee. Now, these are the people that write tax laws,
Right.
okay, business tax laws. He owns a small IT company in Southern Maryland that services the federal government. Last month, he moved his company to Virginia, and he publicly said he did it because he can't afford to keep it in Maryland because of business taxes.
Right.
These are the taxes he writes and he voted for. But he moved his business out because he can't afford the taxes that he voted for.
So what about the regular citizens?
What about the rest of the companies? We have a major business in Maryland called the McCormick Spice Company.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you've heard of them.
Oh, I use their product.
Okay. Old Bay seasoning is as Maryland gets. It goes on steamed crabs. It goes in crab cakes.
No, that's
it
not
goes
what
on
you said.
seafood.
You said they put it pretty much in everything.
They put Old Bay on Old Bay in Maryland. Okay, it is as Maryland as it gets, and that company has been in Maryland for 140 years. Last month, McCormick Spice Company announced that they are considering moving to Virginia.
Oh.
This is one of the longest standing businesses in the state of Maryland, and they said it was because of the business tax environment in the state of Maryland that they can no longer afford to stay in our state. That is criminal.
It is.
And that's going to cost us millions of dollars in tax revenue and hundreds, if not thousands, of jobs. We can't afford that. I also want to see the public schools fixed.
Yes. Because now that we don't have a department, well, we kind of got a Department of Education, but it's
We
thrown
do.
back to the state.
Which is where I think it should be to begin with, okay? I mean, education, in my opinion, has always been a state issue. But in Maryland, we spend more than 37 other states in the union on our students every year. We spend about $20,000 a kid per capita across the state. But our 8th and 4th graders read and do math at below the national average.
Wow.
So we're not getting a good return on our investment. And according to the State Board of Education, only 25% of that money is making it into the classroom.
So what the rest of it? Bureaucrats?
Administrative and overhead.
How are you going to try to streamline it?
We are going to take another look at we have what we call the blueprint for education in Maryland right now. It was passed about 3 years ago, and it mandates that we dump billions of dollars into the education system. Clearly, that's not solving the problem. So we want to repeal this blueprint, and we want to look at putting together a plan that first off involves teachers and parents helping to make the decisions so that we can come up with a plan that will educate our students without bankrupting the state of Maryland.
Only 20-something% goes to the children. The rest go to pencil pushers.
Yeah. I mean, for example, in the county where I live in a county called Prince George's County. It's just outside of Washington, D.C. Our Board of Education says that they for every teacher in the classroom, they have one administrative position.
So you got equal amount of overhead to equal amount of school teachers.
Yeah. Right. How's that helping? How's that helping our kids? It's
How
not.
about if we had one per child instead of one per teacher?
When I grew up, and I went to Maryland public schools, I went to school in Harford County in the northeast part of the state. When I went to school, there was one school administrator for every 8 teachers in the classroom. And I got a halfway decent education. I think I turned out okay.
I think we did good.
Yeah, my wife kind of agrees. So, she doesn't think I'm that big of an idiot. But we can do better because we're shortchanging not only our students and we're killing their future. We're also shortchanging our state because what business in its right mind is going to hire a Maryland high school graduate if they can't read their high school diploma?
You're not going to get rid of the, I guess they call it exit testing to see what they have accomplished in high school?
Doesn't matter. Baltimore City Public Schools right now, according to the latest information, they have 0% of their graduates in Baltimore City Public Schools who can pass that test. But they get a high school diploma anyway.
But you're still setting them up for failure.
You're absolutely setting them up for failure. And the purpose of public education is supposed to be to educate children, to give them a future. We are robbing them of that future right now. And as a result, one of the things I want to see is I want to see school choice.
Yes.
I want that $20,000 to follow the student, because parents have not only a responsibility but a right that if their children are not being properly educated by the public school system, they are responsible to educate those children. So they should not have to pay out of their own pockets for private schools or for homeschooling their children when they're already paying taxes to a failed school system.
So you want to empower the parents to have more involvement, not less involvement.
Absolutely. It all starts in the home.
Amen.
It all starts in the home. Education starts with your parents. And that has to be the way we do things. And parents have to be involved in those decisions. Because if they're not, we're just going to continue to fail our students. And we can't do that.
With Maryland being blue,
Yep.
even blue people get tired of being ran over.
Yes, they do.
People, I don't even want to keep saying, us versus them at this point, because there's been so many that left their side. There's only 20% of the extremists left on the Democratic ticket.
Yeah.
Blue dog Democrat don't mean the same as it used to when I was growing up and my mom was trying to explain to me politics.
Yep.
You have the best opportunity at this time in Maryland to change it and turn it around, or at least pivot it before it's a failure.
Well, I think we do. I really think you're right there, because the problems that I'm talking about here are not Republican problems. They're not Democrat problems. They're not independent problems. They're Maryland problems. They cross across all political boundaries. And every Marylander wants the same things. They want lower taxes. They want good public schools. They want public safety so that when they're walking down the street at night, they don't have to worry about getting murdered or robbed. Every Marylander deserves to have these things. And it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat, Republican, or non-affiliated independent. It doesn't matter. You want the same things.
Here's a great slogan. No one wants to be broke nor broken. Vote for
John Myrick.
What is always the first thing that people worry about? The kitchen.
Absolutely.
I would run it from there. Not illegals,
No.
not anything else, because if they can't survive, if they cannot eat, nothing else matters.
You're right. And economic opportunities, they just did a poll in Baltimore City, which is our most populated area, last week. And the top 3 items that Baltimore City residents, and this was Democrats, Republicans, and Independents, it didn't matter. The top 3 items that they were worried about was economic opportunities and jobs. So that was first, the economy. Public schools, and then public safety. That was their 3 issues.
That's it.
That's all they cared about.
And that sounds like America first.
That's exactly what it is. That's America first. It's taking care of your people before anyone else. And if you fail at doing that, you have no business being there. And I've told you this before. Politicians talk about problems. Public servants solve them. I have spent my life as a public servant. I solve problems for a living. That's what I do. These problems are not insurmountable. And I would love to sit here and tell people that I can solve Maryland's problems on day one, but then I'd be a politician, because I'd be lying.
If it took all these years to create that issue, people need to understand it's not going to turn back around in a blink of an eye.
No, it's not. I cannot wave a magic governor's wand on day one and make it all better. It doesn't work that way. What I can do is I can start putting the pieces in place to put us on the right path, and working with the legislature, which I will, which is something that this governor doesn't bother to do because he doesn't think he has to do it. I will work with the Democrats and the Republicans in our state legislature to come up with an agenda that works for Marylanders. The people in Annapolis, Maryland, in our capital, forgot a long time ago that they work for Marylanders. They're there. They think they're there to rule over them, and they are not. The voters, the taxpayers, we are the bosses. I have never forgotten that as a public servant, and I never will forget that. And it's time Marylanders reminded those elected officials who they work for.
You might want to tell people, these legislators, that this is not Agenda 21, Agenda 30, or Agenda 45.
No.
You're not going to keep cataloging us, separating us, and then putting us somewhere. This is not how America works. We are a nation of the Constitution.
Exactly.
We are law and order, and we belong to no man. That's one thing that we are as Americans. We have sovereignty.
Exactly. And Marylanders, like all Americans, but Marylanders have their own differing opinions that, Democrats and Republicans. And accent. They do. But they have different accents in different parts of Maryland even, so it's pretty funny. But Marylanders, they have common issues as well, and the common issues we've talked about affect all Marylanders. Now, the rest of it, we can talk about those kind of things. We can come to some understandings, and we can respect other people's opinions. We don't have to be fighting every time and everybody every time something comes out of your mouth, and there are things I agree with some of my Democrat counterparts on, and some of my Democrat counterparts agree with things that I am proposing. I've been endorsed by Democrats. I have Democrats calling me every single day telling me that they will support my campaign because they can't afford to have this guy keep reaching into their pockets and taking their money.
That's true.
At this point, he's reaching in and all he's pulling out is lint. And we got to stop that.
And you are the man to stop it.
I can do that.
The team around you. Are you ready to build that team?
Absolutely. We are putting together an incredible team of people. I have an incredible team of people working with my campaign. We are already making plans for who will be sitting in some of these key seats in Annapolis in the administration when I am elected. And I seriously think that we are assembling the absolute most effective, most qualified, most dedicated team of public servants that Maryland has ever seen. And they will make a difference. We will roll back some of these ridiculous regulations that the governor can simply sign. That's a stroke of a pen. Mm-hmm. We don't need the legislature to get rid of overreaching regulations. We can do that from the governor's mansion, and we will. I will work with where we need to work with the legislature. We will. And I've got people who are experts at working with the legislature who will be able to do that. We can right this ship. My concern, and many Marylanders' concern, is if this guy gets reelected, he has dug us such a deep hole, we may not be able to dig out of another 4 years of him digging.
Sound like Illinois.
We are now worse than Illinois from a tax perspective.
Wow.
There are only 3 states in the union that have a higher tax burden than Maryland now: California, New York, and Connecticut. Illinois now has a less tax burden than Maryland does. Let that sink in for a second.
Or Pritzker aided this either.
Yeah, he could have. Yeah. But
you know how dedicated he is. I want y'all to understand this. He got on the red eye. He got down here today, coming down here to support the NRA, and now he's jumping right back on the plane and headed right back to Maryland.
Yep.
You're gonna be tired by all of this.
I'm tired now, but you know what? That's okay. I will sleep. There'll be plenty of time for me to sleep when my work is done. When my work is done. Until then, my wife keeps me healthy and will keep pumping coffee into me as long as I have to. And we will keep at this. I mean, that's the other thing people don't understand. Our governor, his job is to be governor, mm-hmm. right? And part of that is running for re-election. So he's getting paid for that. I work a full-time job. And I go out and campaign every night and every weekend. So there is no time for sleep because Maryland's problems are too important to be wasted on sleep right now. I'll sleep later.
So everybody, y'all, thank y'all so much. I know it's not over. I just know he got places to go and people to actually go talk to and shake hands. And thank you for coming down
Lucretia, I appreciate the invitation to come down. It was my pleasure to get on the plane
Did you
and
get
come
the
on
sword
down.
yet? Did you see the sword?
I did see the sword this
you got
morning.
a picture of it?
We got pictures of it. Yep. Beautiful. Again, Maryland history right here in Atlanta at the NRA convention.
Absolutely.
So yeah, there's a sword here that is a Maryland Revolutionary War sword that has good provenance behind it. Wonderful people over there curating it. It was great to see it.
Has there ever been an NRA convention in Maryland?
Of course not. Maryland is, and again, that's part of the problem that we can fix. Maryland's gun laws are some of the most restrictive in the nation. And some of those laws have actually been found to be unconstitutional, but they're still on the books.
Wow.
One of the things I will do is I will work with our Attorney General, whomever that is, because our Attorney General is up for re-election too. So whoever that Attorney General winds up being, I will work with our Attorney General to take a look at every law on Maryland's books, including our gun laws. And if those laws are unconstitutional, I will work with the Attorney General to make sure that they are taken out of Maryland statute. Because Maryland will be, and should be, a state that is based on the rule of law and based on the U.S. Constitution.
Amen. Did you go talk to Turning Point Action?
Actually, I've talked to Turning Point, not here today, but I've talked to Turning Point in Maryland. I will be speaking at Towson University just outside of Baltimore on the 6th of May at a Turning Point event. Mm-hmm. They have been very receptive and very helpful. I look forward to that. I'm working with college Republicans. I will be speaking this month with Maryland's NAACP, who are traditionally Democrat, but they have been gracious enough to extend an invitation for me to speak with them. Because again, our problems are not Republican or Democrat problems, they're Maryland issues. So I look forward to the opportunity to speak with them about Maryland issues and about how we move Maryland forward together.
Guess who just walked up behind you?
Okay.
Thank you much. And she is Turning Point.
Okay,
hey,
great.
Emery.
Hi.
You ready? Thank you so much, Governor. Future Governor.
Oh, Governor works.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much,
Thank you for
Lucretia.
flying
I
down here
appreciate it.
too.
Not a problem. I
I'm about
enjoy
like
it.
you. My eyes are red. Are they turning?
You'll be okay.
We only got a couple of hours left.
There you go.
Hopefully my voice is gonna last before it ends that way. All right, everybody. Like I said, y'all make sure y'all get over there to Cash App. Lucretia Hughes 44. I think I said that. All right, come on, Emery. How you doing?
Wonderful.
Girl.
Thank you. Of course.
How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic.
How was it being here?
Oh, it's been phenomenal. You know, we're running into so many wonderful people who support our Second Amendment rights, and it's been amazing because Turning Point. A lot of people they'll know who we are or they don't know who we are, and as a result of that, we're able to teach them what we do here in the state of Georgia and also in other states across the country. We're predominantly in the battleground states, but our USA side, they're predominantly in almost all 50 states in the country.
Is Turning Point and the NRA, are they linking up? So our young folks, because I'm 50, I don't know how to say anything. So y'all will always know and teach others about the 2A. And then be teaming up side by side. So you're not y'all can have a bigger audience and bigger, background and information.
For sure.
To give y'all.
For sure. Because, for sure. Because, a lot of people that are gun owners, some of them are not registered to vote or they don't vote actively like you and I do. So that's one of the biggest things what we're trying to do is we actually just talked to a few board members here that stopped by our booth and they said, we're happy to see that Turning Point Action's here. We love y'all. Some of them are not in.
But go ahead and keep talking.
Some of them are not in states where we're active in, but they're like, what can we do to help y'all? What can we do to help grow the brand? We want to be able to work with more nonprofit organizations like y'all, because as you know, the left, they use all types, they don't have NRA, they don't really believe in Second Amendment rights, but they do have bigger conferences similar to this, and they partner with the DNC, they partner with campaigns, and they have quite a well-oiled machine that they've been running for decades, and they really reach out to those. Yeah.
Friday in the membership meeting, me eavesdropping as always, and they was like, we really need some young folks.
Mm-hmm.
How old are they? 20 to 45. Cooper, what you doing? What y'all doing? You gonna be here? Okay. They're downstairs. Go down there and talk to them. Mm-hmm. I said, matter of fact, while y'all are talking to them, why don't you offer them a free year membership to the NRA so they could get their feet wet, maybe with the legislative action or just learning. And they was like, okay, that's a good idea. We coming to talk to them.
Right.
Y'all didn't know that they was here? This is what you need in order for us to have a lasting 2A. You gotta get the youth involved, because if the youth are not involved, our nation is gonna die.
You're right, Lucretia. You're right. And like as we said, the youth is becoming more and more of that voting electorate as we get older. I always joke with people, and sometimes when I go places, I get gasped because I'm like, I was born after 9/11. Like, the gasp. But, a lot of us are of that age where we're able to vote. I also say, people that are 16-year-old now, they may not be able to vote, this upcoming 2026 cycle, but in 2028, that's going to matter. They're going to be a new group of voters. Same thing that we did this year. We targeted those new group of voters because, as you see, the polling shows young men predominantly. Conservative young ladies, we're coming closer, but conservative men are predominantly conservative.
What made y'all generation and the generation under you so conservative? Back to God, family, country, and the flag.
That's a good question. I would say a lot of it has to do with COVID. A lot of these kids, there's some animosity. I was a senior in high school in 2020, and I lost half of my senior year. And as a result of that, I also went to college, and that wasn't even a normal experience for me. It was, where you would be on campus, taking classes, you were online, or if you were on campus, you were masked down. You were forced to put a mask on to go to class, and if you didn't, they would ask you to do it, and it was just one of those things where there's just growing animosity and almost this culture of, we don't trust the government. We just don't trust the government with all the stuff that we saw happening in COVID, all of the cultural wars that they try to spark across the nation, and the fact that they're trying to divide people.
Yes.
Whereas this generation, our generation's more of like, we want a united front. And I really think COVID did play a big turn in that. So I always say it's a blessing in disguise, because it really did suck losing a lot of that stuff in your younger years, but it also made us get more informed. Mm-hmm. We're also of the generation that is constantly on social media, as you know. Charlie Kirk, he was going to across college campuses and posting those quick 30-second clips of him having interactions, and they would go viral. And that was another reason I think that you see the generation coming up is more conservative leaning. Generation Z, and I believe it's Alpha under them.
Yes. Which is my grandkids, because I have 9. So when they start, the oldest is 14, so he just entered high school, and the youngest, she's just turned 3. One thing that I'm more concerned of with my grandkids is that they can't follow people like you. They won't have mentors like you as they're growing up in high school and in college. As we're seeing all across the nation, that y'all are being indoctrinated, but now y'all are pushing back.
Right.
So how do you feel, not only because you're beautiful, you are a mentor, you are a role model, how do you feel that you're going to step into your position even more in the coming years, especially in the state of Georgia? But I just don't see you in Georgia. I see you a nationwide figure also, or at least having your own commentary on somebody's news network.
Well, that would be a surprising thing. You never know what the future holds, but I really think it is, reaching out to certain youth groups. I grew up in Paulding County. We had something called Young Life, and it was a Christian-based organization, nonprofit, and they would have chapters in your local high schools. And that's a way of pouring into the youth, because a lot of the youth, sometimes they don't have parents to help guide them. They don't have role models in their homes. So it's up to, individuals like us who have went through stuff in life, who've been able to walk the walk and be able to also relate to them. That's the biggest thing. I actually ironically saw my Young Life leader last night at my best friend's wedding, and I just reminded her, I said, all those things you've taught me, 7 years ago, I'm looking back now at 23 and going, Oh, that's what she meant by that. That's what she meant when she read that Bible verse to us, or, introduced that chapter of John to us, and I think it really is making sure that they have a strong faith foundation, because no matter what happens in your life, you can always lean back on your faith.
Have you been seeing all these videos with Turning Point Action and the revival of God and Jesus
Amen.
Christ across the nation?
Amen.
Where do you see where you're going to be in that?
Oh, well, that's an interesting question. Most people who know me in Georgia know that I want to go back to law school to be able to help maybe make sure that RFRA is in every single state in the country. Georgia, we got it passed finally after almost a decade battle.
That was this year.
It was.
That was this session.
It was. Governor Kemp, actually, I think he signed it on Sine Die. I think it was. And it was a clean RFRA bill. Nothing got struck
the
out.
handmaidens are not going to like that.
I know.
Way to go, Brian Kemp. You got to say attaboy when you do something good. So don't nobody turn your nose up watching right now.
Yeah. Yes, Miss Jacqueline
Both
Harn.
of y'all are?
Yes, I actually work with Jacqueline. So she appointed me to be the events and conventions chair. I know,
Wait
I
a
know
minute,
it.
She lives up in that district with Andrew Clyde?
I don't think she lives up in the 9th district. I can't remember what district she lives in, but so she appointed me to be the events and conventions chair. And actually, the Georgia Young Republicans, just a few weeks ago, we had one of our biggest fundraisers ever, where we called it the Sine Die Social. So we invited state legislators both on the House and the Senate side, and we hosted a panel where we asked them a series of questions. Some of the legislation they passed this year, some of the stuff that they see that they want to, continue up to the next year, because remember, they're in a biennium. So whatever they don't pass this year, they can always bring back up next year. And also some of the stuff, the policies, how is it going to cater to young people, especially when it comes to home affordability, right? Ooh. And that was one of the biggest, things that a lot of people were wanting to know. And a lot of those people, I've been hearing that they have ambitions for higher office, so they need to really see that, young Republicans, it's not this, we're just mere spectators anymore. We're key stakeholders in this party.
Y'all just not foot army either.
Exactly.
Y'all just not door knockers.
Exactly.
No, and now that y'all are getting into positions of power, position of favor and discernment, what do you see as you being a lawyer? Do you feel like you're going to stick with Turning Point to help them pass piece of the legislation? Or
I would like to. Turning Point is a phenomenal organization. I love, all the people that we work with here. I love the idea of what we do. I love the Chase the Vote program that we're going to be implementing here in Georgia soon.
Now, what's that?
Chase the Vote. So it is a ability where we're going to be reaching out to low propensity voters, new voters, and disengaged voters in the 2024 election cycle. So these are voters, you're disengaged, the ones who've probably voted one or two of the past few election cycles, or people who they'll come in presidential years, but they just don't show up when it comes to our midterm years, as you know.
Because the midterms is the ones that matters the most.
Absolutely. And you know what? We don't want to repeat to 2018. We all saw what happened in 2018.
Yes. They got a warlock and an ass off.
You said it, not me.
Ass off warlock, warlock ass off warlock. There you go. I ain't missing no words.
Yeah. So the Chase the Vote program, it is designed where we, it's kind of like a quadratic formula, but it's really cross multiplication. So what we do is we get the number of registered voters in a state, and we times it by the number of people that don't vote, and then divide it by the people that do. And it gives us this number, and we break it down by precinct, by county, so we know exactly how many votes in a particular precinct that need to be chased. And we're working with our local GOPs, their local precinct chairs, and saying, y'all need to help organize volunteers within y'all's precincts to be able to reach out to these disengaged voters, to reach out to these new voters, and to reach out to those voters that only come, like I said, during presidential years. The left has dominated this game for decades. This is why they had a great outcome in 2022. Was there some fraudulent stuff going on? There was, but they really were out there working. I can tell you why. In 2022, they would go to their disengaged voters, and they wouldn't just go. Your traditional DC consultants would say, "Oh, hey, I'm with the DNC. We would really like you to vote Democrat up and down the ballot." No, Lucretia. They were going door to door and going, "Hey, I know us as the Democrats, we're not able to provide much for y'all. The economy's in the tank, there's wars all over, the world. But those Republicans, and remember, Lucretia, this was after the Dobbs decision, those Republicans, they're stripping away your rights. And the left knows that disengaged voters, that's right, they're single issue voters, and they could vote on fear. If
Grab
you get
that
something
red hat behind you that says faith over fear, that's yours. Grab that red hat. Take that home. So the next time somebody
wear it right
try
now.
to throw fear in your face, you have faith over fear.
Absolutely.
'Cause
Absolutely.
that's all they have. You have the youth, you have the stamina, you have the truth behind y'all. One thing y'all do is research the issues and the policies, and you go out there and you articulate them really, really well across the state and
Right.
across the nation. So when you go back to you go into law school, who are you going to mentor to take your position to be that voice while you're out there studying for your law?
I'm hoping I can find somebody in Paulding County. You know, we're about to start up a YR chapter there, and there's a lot of rising stars in there that are willing to get involved. In fact, one of them was at our district convention yesterday. It was his first convention. He said, I'm all in. I want to learn the process. I want to learn how these things work in the Republican
So he was
Party.
like a Jaquan.
For sure. A little bit older than Jaquan, but yeah, you know, you're seeing a lot more younger professionals want to come and get involved in the GOP, and it's really refreshing, and I would love to be able to mentor. Another thing that I do on the side, too, is I'm a graduate of Kennesaw State. Go Owls. And I ran the college Republicans there, and I still pour into them over there. Sometimes they'll give me a call. I actually just received a text from the new first vice chair, I believe, the Cobb GOP, and he was saying, you know, the college Republicans are reaching out because they said you've done a lot of work in Cobb County, and we're really wanting to work with them, and I'm helping them understand how those relationships are built, how to work with your county parties, because that's important, getting involved in your local area, especially even if you're in college. Right now, they've been door knocking for Alicia Adams and Matthew Hardwick over there in Cobb County, and that's important. But it's important to have somebody who has done that process to be able to teach the next generation up, and then in turn they'll teach somebody else, and it just grows from there. And that's the way.
Like Cooper, who just won a seat at the table.
Absolutely, and Cooper's been a fantastic mentor to me, you know, when I first started getting involved in politics.
So once you get your law degree, do you ever feel like you're going to step in politics?
Ooh, I get that question all the time. If God wants me to be there, I will be there. If I pray to God and He tells me I need to be there, and it's something that I feel I can make a difference in, absolutely, 100%.
Thank you so much, because I see Cooper. Cooper, you know you're not getting away. Come on, Cooper. Congratulations, Cooper.
Appreciate
dude.
it.
You
Thank
did
you.
that.
Thank you.
And you was endorsed by the Veterans for America First.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what got you really, really serious about politics?
Right, yeah. So I started doing a lot of volunteer work back in 2019, 2020 with the Georgia Republican Party and the Trump campaign. Did a lot of volunteer work for Turning Point Action during the U.S. Senate runoff before with Senator Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue. So that's kind of where I got my initial start, doing a lot of volunteer work. And then from that point on, I was offered a full-time job at Turning Point Action to run their field program here in Georgia. And then that's where I got involved with Young Republicans, the GOP, and stuff like that. Yes, ma'am.
You just won a position yesterday at the district conventions, and we missed ours because we was right here. I wouldn't worry about that. I right here. But congratulations. Tell everybody your new role, your new hat.
Yeah, so I was just elected to be second vice chairman of the 9th District GOP. So Stephen Aaron was elected to be chairman. Our Hall County Republican Party chairman, Richard El Sorelli, was elected to first vice chairman, and me as second vice chairman. So realistically, what we're doing is we're just working to continue the work that's been started in the 9th District from our past chairmen like Rebecca Yardley and Carl Blackburn, to where we keep the 9th District red and continue to get Republicans elected district-wide. So, you know, I believe this last election cycle that the 9th District delivered the most votes for President Donald J. Trump. So we're just doing everything we can to keep the 9th District red.
All I saw was Gwinnett. I don't know why I saw just like half of Gwinnett is, how you getting that back? I know you have some very strong people like Tiffany and different people that are now in the Republican leadership in Gwinnett, which is still a little bit is District 9. But how do you feel like you can go in there and really bring it back red, or keep the 9th District completely red?
Right, exactly. So like you said, we just got some good county leadership elected in Gwinnett County. Justice, who I just met, is the new chairman. Tiffany Savage for the first vice chair, and my coworker actually, Courtney Cothran, for second vice chair. So I'm really excited about what that executive board can do over there. And again, I think it's about as as kind of the demographic of the ninth district has changed with bringing in more of Gwinnett, which is obviously making the district more blue. Again, I think it gets back to what my organization, Turning Point Action, did this last cycle, which is focusing on targeting those low propensity voters in the district. So what is that exactly? These are voters that don't get out and vote every election cycle. So in 2024, Turning Point Action focused on targeting low propensity voters, which is Republican voters who voted in 2 of the last 4 election cycles. So while it's still important to target swing voters and, voters of all sorts, by targeting people who have a proven record of getting out and voting Republican, if we're able to maximize the Republican vote to where we bring that percentage up 5%, 10%, whatever we can bring it up, I think that's really determining the future of Georgia. How we win elections in 2026 is by being able to get max Republican turnout in these red areas of the state. Obviously still giving focus to the blue areas, but just making sure as many Republicans, every Republican and their brother, we can turn out the vote.
So with you, do you see yourself running in a bigger position for a bigger seat in a couple of years?
Yeah, so right now, I have people ask me that every few weeks. Right now, I'm very content just being in my position at Turning Point Action, working with good grassroots folks, helping get Republicans elected, and then obviously doing my voluntary work with the Georgia Young Republicans, with the Hall County Republican Party, with the 9th District Republican Party, and being on the state committee of the Georgia GOP, helping people like our chairman, Josh McCoon, helping good county party chairs around the state, like Sally Grubbs, like Brant Frost, like Richard El Sorelli, like people like that. So right now, I honestly don't have any aspirations of running for a public office or really doing anything with higher office in the GOP. I'm just kind of here to contribute and help out where I can.
Some of your ideas, do you feel like you need to put them down in writing as a policy or procedure that can actually help the Georgia State GOP and Turning Point Action at the same time?
Yeah, so I think one thing that the Georgia Republican Party did good this last election cycle that they didn't do other cycles was they really did make a concerted effort to work with organizations like Turning Point Action, like Jenny Beth Martin and Tea Party Patriots, like Faith and Freedom Coalition with Mac Parnell, like organizations like Americans for Prosperity that focused with working in several key House races like Matt Reeves, Scott Hilton, Sandy Donatucci, a lot of people like that. And I think since the GOP focused on working with these other aux groups, instead of them having to bear the entire load of get out the vote and things like that, they were able to rely on some of these partner organizations. If you look historically in some of these states where the Democrats have been so successful for the past several years, they've partnered up with these other organizations and these other Democrat super PACs. Organizations like Turning Point, if you go look in states like Michigan and Pennsylvania, they have 15, 20 organizations like ours there, and that's why they're entrenched and why initially that blue wall was there historically. So, I think if as long as the party continues to work with organizations like Turning Point and others, I think they have a clear roadmap to continue to help them be successful.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
Cooper.
ma'am.
Did you ever meet former Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson?
I just met him at our Turning Point Action booth a little while ago. He was a pleasure to speak with.
Absolutely. Get exchange business cards.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I know this is something that Mark has a passion for. So, and also, whatever you need from us, me and Dave, whatever you need from us, just call me and let me know. If you need me to interview someone, and congratulations on the endorsement again. That
yes,
is
ma'am.
major. So if you ever need us or Veterans for America First, please reach out.
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate it. Thank you all for having me on.
You ain't gotta walk away so fast. Have a good one. Are you coming over for a minute? Yes. Jacqueline, where you get your shirt from?
Oh, at the 9th District Convention.
Oh, so you live in the 9th District?
I live in Fulton County, but we had a YR running for office, district office, on Saturday, and so I was helping him out.
Oh, you're talking about Cooper?
Cooper and Stephen Aaron, who ran for district chair.
Did he win?
He did win.
Good.
So we have a YR in leadership there, which is nice. So between him and Cooper, there's 2 YRs in leadership, and I think there's 2 others involved on the appointed level too. So
hopefully pray for Jaquan. He is really working his tail out.
Oh, yeah. And we're trying to help them as much as we can. The Georgia Young Republicans, we've endorsed them, and so we're helping them whether schedule speaking engagements or making phone calls for them or campaigning for them at district or state convention. We're gonna
So
help them as
you're
much
going
as
to
we can.
be a mentor across the state for
Yeah.
young Republicans. How do you recruit these young Republicans?
Through social media, a lot of it, or even by being involved with the GOP, especially some more of the rural areas. You'll have young people just go to your a random GOP meeting or get involved because they don't know about anything else. They don't know necessarily that YRs exist. And so we find them there as well. But mainly through social media, through Instagram, through, I still call it Twitter, but Twitter, X, and Facebook, really making sure we promote what we're doing, take pictures. They see young people at like 20-something years old, I'm 26, and they're like, oh, if you do this, I can do that too.
And you just open up the door for them to actually come over and learn more about the young Republicans.
Yep, and we make sure too, it's not, because I feel young people will try to involve the GOP and they might, have different levels of responses back from people that are currently involved.
Yes.
And so we make it very clear,
Basically, wait your turn, it ain't your turn, just sit there and learn. Yes, I know.
Not everyone is like that. We have a lot of good allies that really try to bring young people in, but sometimes that's their first experience. And so we try to make it clear, no, whether you are raised in the metro, whether you're from rural Georgia, whether this is your first GOP event ever, or whether your parents raised you Republican, we want you here. And we want to make sure that you're involved and that you're plugged in somehow.
Okay, you're going to have to come on the show soon.
Oh, of course, yeah.
I mean, soon. I've done these two
I would love
on
that.
this show,
I know.
but I would really like for you to come on, because if you're going to be doing this statewide, or are you just going to stick with the northern area suburbs?
So I'm the state chair for the Georgia Young Republicans, and so we have chapters across the state.
159 counties. And you have to be responsible, and who write the bylaws, some of the procedures that you would like to see in these counties?
So we would love, and especially a lot of GOPs recently especially, they want young Republican chapters. And so when we go speak to them, we say, okay, I would love for you to start this, but you need to give me at least 2 young people. Give me 2 young people that want to make this their passion, that want to start the chapter. They can bring their friends, and you can have a club. It only takes 10 people to start a club with YRs. That's why we have 13.
2 or more get together in his name, a whole bunch can change.
Yep.
And y'all are the future of Georgia. Now, with the young Republicans, have you really had opposition from the young Democrats?
Not really. I did one joint interview on election night in 24. I did an interview with the former Young Democrat chair at WABE. It was interesting. He was nice beforehand. During the actual interview itself, it got a little heated.
Oh, you need to go. Well, that means you need to go head to
I
head
did find
with
out
David
somewhere.
Hobbs. You think you could take him on?
Probably. I think so.
'Cause I see you're with the facts. He's with more emotions. You can win with the numbers, the facts, and what the real issues are. And he has nothing to run on.
No, that's the thing. They like to play to people's emotions and like to pull the heartstrings a lot of times. But when you're talking about an economy that was absolutely terrible with Bidenomics, and young people can't afford to really buy a house within probably an hour of Atlanta, you can't afford it anymore. It's like you can't fight that when it comes to young people. They're mad about it. They're mad about that they have to pay
live
rent.
with their mom them forever.
That, or if you're myself, I'm from Savannah. I got a job in Atlanta, so I had to find a place to pay rent. I didn't know anybody, and I prefer to live by myself.
You're not commuting, are you?
No, no.
Okay,
I live in Atlanta now. I had to find an apartment, but paying that much for rent, I don't enjoy that, to live in a shoebox in Atlanta. And so when you're talking to young people about that, yeah, they're frustrated by it. And so it doesn't matter what heartstrings you're trying to pull at that point. If they can't afford something, or they're going to their grocery store down the street and it's taking $100 to buy 2 bags full of groceries, you can't argue with that.
No.
You can't. Something has to
and
fix.
it's only going to get worse if we don't fix it and change it.
That's why 26 is so important. Obviously, I love everything Trump is doing. It's been such a turnaround, right? And I feel like we're already seeing the turnaround from it. But if we don't focus on 26, things to be very different in Georgia.
Thank you
very
so
different.
much. Because I'm seeing Mark. Mark, get off the phone. You next. Thank you so much. Cooper,
of course.
you don't mind giving her my information and phone number, please? Thank you, son.
It was great talking to you.
Oh, this ain't gonna be
great,
last
of
time.
course.
Thank you.
Of course.
You want to come out? Wait. This is the English guy with the sexy. Come on. How are you?
I'm very well, thank
I can actually talk to you now, and it's live, and it's not going to cut off. I want everybody, this is Christy Mayberry. Christy has been walking around and really looking at vendors, and she ran over to me yesterday and she said, you really got to get over there and interview this person and explain to what you're doing, and plus he got an English accent. So that's why I was sitting on the floor. I was trying to get my phone equipment up, but for you to come here on the very last day, thank you so much. Now tell us who you are, why you came across the pond, and what you're trying to sell us to help us protect our lives.
Okay, well, my name's Ben Wyatt,
Hey, Ben.
and I'm from Sheffield in England, and I've come over to sell the AIM cam. And the AIM cam is designed by us back in England,
Right there.
to help to train people to use their firearms. 'Cause it's one thing to own a firearm, but to be skilled in the use and deployment of that firearm is really important.
Yes.
Now, we've sold AIMCAM for a number of years now. We've sold it to the military, we've sold it to law enforcement, and now we want to sell to general consumers who want to train and improve their skills.
So it's like, how does it work? I see that you're saying there's a camera that is right here. What do you do?
That camera there is adjustable, so we can adjust it to our exact line of sight. It's the only line of sight camera in the world. And the beauty of that is then whenever you're shooting that video, you're seeing exactly what you see as you shoot down the line of the rib of the shotgun, across the iron sights of a pistol, even a red dot scope. You're able to see exactly what you see. So in terms of being able to practice at home, be able to bring a gun to bear on a target accurately and know that you've got that target acquired before you pull the trigger is really important. So this way you can practice that at home in a safe environment, utilizing the camera to give you feedback on how well you're improving.
What does the information go to? Is it like
It's being stored, the video, on a little micro SD card right here. So everything is built into the camera, but it will also stream via Wi-Fi to a mobile phone or a tablet, so you're able to see that live feed as well.
So when this actually help, like when they have competitions and you're learning competitions,
Absolutely.
You can actually sit there and train yourself, go back, look at what you just did and get even better.
Exactly, yeah. And actually when parents want to teach their children how to use a firearm safely as well, that live stream is useful because the parent can stand behind the child safely and see what the child is doing. So if the sight picture is wrong, or the way the weapon is being handled is wrong, then the parent can actually take a still image or look at the video and play that back to the child and say, look, your grip is wrong and that's why the recoil is not being handled correctly. So it's a really safe training tool as well.
Do we have to order them online?
You don't have to order them online, although you can order through aimcam.com.
Aimcam.com. So that's AIMCAM.com.
Correct, yep.
Are they like $10,000?
No.
Okay.
No. This is the latest model. This is the Pro 4K, and that's $350.
Oh, that's reasonable.
Yeah. And that's shipped straight out of our offices in Tampa, Florida.
You know what? Y'all can use this for anything. You can really use that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Christy, come over here and tell him why you bought his glasses.
Okay, well, come on. I'll slide right in here with everybody. So I was walking around and I saw them, and well, I bought them from my husband too because he shoots as well. And I told him, I called him hubby because hubby makes the money, and I'm like, hey hubby, and I'm like, told him about the glasses, and I said, hey, when you and the guys were shooting, that'd be a good thing for you to wear, you know, and like you said with the concealment and stuff. And I said, but hey, you know how I was wanting to buy the helmet cam when I rode horses? And I said, this would be better because
those are better.
Because you see, actually, it's the view. It's the view, the better view. And I'm like, I'm going to get a pair. It's okay.
And you bought Chuck a pair?
Well, I bought me and him both. Kind of share.
Oh, you bought two of them?
Well, no. Just one.
Yeah.
But we're going to not share, I guess. But I'm going to use them more than him probably. So
tell everybody again where to buy them at, where they can get more information. Because I saw you had videos and everything over there.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we're a video camera company, there is lots of video that you can see via aimcam.com. lots more information, and absolutely you can use AimCam for a lot of different things. So we've got a lot of guys who shoot, but then they also go fishing.
Yes.
So you can put fishing lenses in instead of these ballistic lenses in and go fishing. Like your friend there said, you can use it for horseback riding. You can use it for just walking in the park. If your children are singing in a concert, then you're in a position where you, instead of having to hold the mobile phone up, you can record them as you're watching.
So it's multi-purpose.
Absolutely. The microphone in here is really good.
Wait, there's a microphone?
There is a microphone as well, yeah. So you can record the audio as well.
Well, thank you. One more time, tell them everywhere they can find it.
Okay.
The reasonable price of it, and go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So that's aimcam.com, and the price is only $350, and we'll deliver anywhere in the United States from our offices in Tampa.
And are they made in America or are they made in England?
They're designed and developed in England, hence the accent.
You gotta rep your country, okay?
We do have lenses made in the United States, so we'll ship anywhere from the United States.
Absolutely, thank you.
Okay,
and
thank
I
you.
didn't even have to sit on the floor today.
Thanks
There
for
we
your time.
go. So everybody, this is the end day of the NRA. Like I said, is there any discounts or anything right now?
Well, if you come and see us, I'm sure we can fix maybe not a discount, but maybe some free lenses.
Okay then. So y'all make sure y'all get over there at
AimCam.
aimcam.com. I got cam and aim. It's aimcam.com. So thank you, sir. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Really nice to meet you.
Yes, sir. All right, everybody. Do not forget. $ Lucretia Hughes 44. $ Lucretia Hughes 44. I don't care. I need a Long Island iced tea. Dude, it's almost over. Been here since Wednesday. And this is the last day, and this is our last broadcast. It ends at 5 o'clock. So thank y'all for sticking in there with us this whole entire week. So for the people, I meant I was going to flood my timeline with a lot of Who is the man?
What's going on?
It's Mark. Show you right. I mean, hey, Mark Robinson.
Hey, what's going on? How you doing?
Former Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson in the House, everybody. Not only is he in the House, Mark Robinson is actually a Board of Directors member. And not only is he a Board of Directors member, tell everybody about you. You really ain't got to tell everybody about yourself, but go ahead and tell everybody about yourself, because I can brag about you.
What do you want to know?
Everything. What brought you here? Why are you part of the NRA? What made you stand up all those many years ago and tell those people off?
Well, let's just start at the beginning then. So, born and raised in Greensboro, North Carolina, number 9 of 10 kids, youngest boy, my mom's favorite kid. Yes, I was my mother's favorite. I guess what ended up happening was I was working in a factory, been a factory worker for most of my life, working in furniture manufacturing. And honestly, I had no idea you could buy an AR-15. I really didn't. I was on social media one day, and a friend of mine, his son was firing an AR-15. I said, "Where in the world are you? Are you at the Fort Bragg, or what is that?" And he said, "No, we're at home in our backyard." I said, "Oh, it's a pellet gun." He said, "No, this is an AR-15. I said, "Well, where'd you get it?" He said, "Well, we built it." And I said, "How do you build an AR-15? So he explained the process to me and how you could buy one and add things to it. And of course, I immediately got excited. So I started saving my pennies to buy one. Well, as I'm saving my money to buy one, unfortunately, the shooting happened in Florida.
Oh, okay, yes.
Marjorie Stoneman, what was it?
The little boy, this is where we got David Hoggs from.
Yes,
okay.
Yes, that one, that shooting happened, which was tragic. And, the reactionaries came out, and the first thing they did, instead of looking at the fact that just about every government agency failed the people, from the school system all the way up to the FBI, failed in that situation. Of course, the reactionaries, they jumped to the guns. Take the guns, take the guns. People can't have guns. And so my city council, in all of its wisdom, decided that our Greensboro gun show, which was wildly popular throughout the state, people come from all over to attend, that they would try to cancel our gun show, which I was planning to attend to buy an AR-15. Well, they found out they couldn't, and only the Coliseum director could. So what they did was they had a special meeting. The city council called a special meeting about gun violence. And at this time, my political antenna was my radar was up. I knew the code words, the buzzwords, and I knew what that meant. I knew that what was going to happen was they were going to pack that room with anti-gun college kids and high school kids and other folks who were going to come down there and browbeat that Coliseum director and get him to cancel that gun show. Well, I decided, I need to go to that meeting. Now, here's the kick. I had to be at work at 6 o'clock that morning. I heard about that on the 5 o'clock news, 5 o'clock in the morning news that morning.
And you had to go to work an hour later.
An hour later, I had to be at work for a 10-hour shift.
And then you got off 10 hours and still went there to stand up for your rights.
I certainly did. And, while I was at work, I was talking to people about it. And here's the thing that made me decide to go, really made me decide to go. An individual told me, he said, well, if you go, all you're going to do is talk. And talk doesn't do anything.
You did a lot.
And I said, that's not true.
Right.
The revolution, the American Revolution didn't start with a shot heard around the world. It started with people talking in taverns and at church and at home about ideas like independence and liberty and why can't we have our own country. That's where it started. It started with talk. It started with writing. And so I decided I've got to go to this meeting. And so I did, but didn't plan on saying anything.
What made you get up and go viral? Your whole life changed.
So here's the thing that made me stand up and start to speak. Mm-hmm. I got there and I sat in the audience. And I listened to person after person after person get up and speak. And what happened was people would get up and they would say something and give a little speech. And I think, well, that's the stupidest thing that I've ever heard in my life. And then they'd sit down and then another person would stand up and I'd go,
was bouncing, wasn't you?
No, that's the stupidest thing that I've ever heard in my life. And before long, it just got so bad. I thought it was in a stupid contest. People were getting up talking about all kind of crazy things that had nothing to do with the Second Amendment, had nothing to do with guns. I mean, and it all culminated into a high school age kid who got up in front of city council and made a quasi-dirty joke. And nobody said anything about it. And at that point, I was fit to be tied. I said, somebody's got to stand up and bring some intelligence or something into this meeting. So I got up, I went around, I asked the man, I said, can you still sign up to speak? He said, yeah, fill out that paper and then go up there and stand in that line. So I filled out the paper and I stood in the line. When I got to the line, I said, what in the hell am I going to say to these people? I have not written a speech. I have no idea what I'm going to say to them.
You let God use you.
That's exactly what happened. When it was my turn to speak, something came over me and said, it's okay. You just be yourself. I'll take care of the rest. And the rest, as they say, I guess, is history.
Not only history, you made history. The former lieutenant governor of North Carolina,
yes,
that never had any political experience ever in his life.
Yes.
He took a leap of faith, and it changed the trajectory of your crossroads and your path. And now you're on the board of directors of the NRA,
yes,
standing firmly up for our Second Amendment
Absolutely.
and our future.
Absolutely.
What do you feel like you're going to be doing after this, besides going home and get some rest?
After this is over?
Yes.
Oh no, there's no rest for the weary. I'll be going home, and I've got a number of contacts that I'll be contacting. One of the things I will very much like to do, like to continue to work with gun manufacturers and gun groups to continue to fight for, of course, for the Second Amendment, and got a lot of activities on the plate that we're going to do, things that we weren't able to do as lieutenant governor because we were in office, we weren't able to do.
Do you know now your hands are not tied?
That's right. My hands are not tied and my mouth is not bound by any office, so I can say what I want and do what I want, and I plan to do just that. Because as you look around in this country, you can clearly see there are a lot of things that are going wrong. Mm-hmm. I mean, President Trump is doing a fantastic job in office. Right now, he's fighting to make changes for the better. But if you look, it's incredible to me. We've talked for years about the government wasting money and wasting taxpayer dollars. And this man and his team have created an agency now that is dedicated to seeing that tax dollars are spent wisely.
And they hate it. And
his colleagues are angry at him. What does that tell you? That tells you that the number one issue in this country, that everyone should be looking at right now is absolutely, the thing I've been talking about is absolutely true, and it's this. The question is this: how in the world do people go to Washington, D.C. with $2,000 in the bank, and in 6 years 12 years, 20 years, end up with 20 million,
Yep.
30 million,
Yep.
$40 million in the bank on $175,000 a year.
Impossible.
It's not possible. Nobody's that good of a guru on Wall Street to make that type of
we
money.
know some people that's on the hood street.
That's
that could,
exactly right.
Flip it, but you know.
That's exactly right. And if you look, those are the folks that are angry at Donald Trump and his team
Yes.
for trying to see to it
Yes.
that the American taxpayers are not being fleeced. We know who the thieves are because they're the ones that are barking the loudest.
The loudest.
That's the reason why we need to continue to support him and continue to fight for what's
You
right.
think that America First is going to make a big comeback? And what I'm saying that is that because you got the Democrats and the leftists and the globalists out here hooping and hollering, shouting as loud as possible about globalism, but these same people that help make policies in our nation hates America
Yes,
and would love to see it burn. You can't rule over ashes.
right.
That didn't make no sense.
That's right. You can't rule over what you can't live off of or rule over what's already been burned down. But what you can do is you can live off the embers, and that's what they want to do. They want to turn us into the embers that burn to warm them. Certainly not going to be for our benefit. While
Right.
we're struggling, while we're struggling for survival, they're going to have their hands over the fire that's been created on us to keep themselves warm, and that's their intention, and it always has been. But when you're talking about the American people, and you're talking about America First, the people my age and older, we have watched our industries be destroyed.
Yes.
For me, in my generation,
How old you are?
it was 56.
Oh, you ain't that. I'm
It was
50.
the textile industry.
Yes.
I can remember the great jobs that people had at places back
My
home
mom,
like
my
Guilford
dad.
Mills and Burlington Industries.
Yes.
And all of that was destroyed by the unions, and it was taken on the global market.
Do you think that was NAFTA?
I know. I think, yes, part of it was NAFTA. A lot of it was the unions driving up wages. And, my question for the unions has always been this. You came down to Georgia. You came down to North Carolina. You came to South Carolina. You went into the textile mills there. Why have you not gone into the textile mills or the mills over in Thailand and these other places where these people are making a nickel a day?
Ooh.
Why are you not breaking into these communist countries and demanding the rights for the workers over there the same way you did in the United States of America? I would submit to you that the reason why they did it here was to get that out of the United States of America and get it onto the world stage. The globalists had a plan all along to take the steel industry, the textile industry, our automobile industry, take it away from America and put it on the world stage.
Yes.
And it worked masterfully. We have a president now that's bound and determined to reverse that. That's why we need to stand up
Have
for
you
it and keep
noticed
fighting
that
for it.
a lot of these companies are investing back in America by the billions of dollars?
Absolutely. And everybody's complaining, saying, the tariffs are going to make things hard. The tariffs are going to do this. Look, anybody who knows anything knows that the United States is deeply in debt right now.
Yes.
Our national debt should be our number one issue on the table right now is our national debt. If America doesn't start tightening up its belt loops, if America doesn't start looking at maybe giving up some things in the short term for the long term, we're going to end up giving up everything. Financial security depends on having a president that's going to make sure that America puts itself first above everybody else. When the president of the United States holds his hand up, when he's inaugurated, he does not promise and swear to defend the Constitution of any other country and the people of any other country except the United States of America. And that's what this president is doing, and that's what
Yes,
every
he is.
president should do.
You're running for president?
No,
Oh, okay.
no.
I'm asking because, but if you were asked to step in a role in his administration or someone else's administration, will you really pray about that?
I already have, and I'm bound.
Yeah, that was years ago, though.
I am bound and determined to do whatever I can to help this president be successful. I'm bound and determined to do whatever I can to help any patriot of this nation be successful in any endeavor that's going to bring this nation back to where it needs to be. The foolishness that we're seeing, whether it be the transgender issues of putting men in women's bathrooms or men in women's sports, or whether it be our wide open border, just allowing any and everybody to come across the border, or this absolute insane policy of allowing our economy to be destroyed by other countries and unfair trade practices.
Yes.
All of it has to come to a stop. And it's not going to come to a stop until people start voting right, acting right, and leading right. And when I say right, I mean right.
right now with Mark. Right on with Mark. Lean right with Mark. I'm gonna figure this one
You're
out.
brainstorming. I see you.
No, that's your snippet. That's you want to tell people what you're gonna be doing, or no? We're gonna wait for that.
Yeah, we'll hold that in the bag. We
Okay.
won't announce that yet.
Get right with Mark.
I think they can
like
read.
that
I
one.
think they can read between the lines on this one. So yes, ma'am.
Get back with the Robinsons. Get right with Robinson. Oh!
I like that one.
I like
that one.
Get right with Robinson. Thank you, Mark.
I like that.
Oh, can we go home now, Mark?
You got it. You better know it. Good to be here with you.
Good. Thank you so much.
We had a great
Mark.
time here at the convention. We
So,
sure did.
everybody, this is the end of the NRA convention. We finna break it down. I don't know how I'm looking there. This is the end of the NRA convention. Thank y'all so much. Like I said, cash out, $ Lucretia Hughes 44. Cash out, $ Lucretia Hughes 44. What I want? LITS. That's what I want now. Just like LITS. All right, everybody. See y'all Monday. Faded to black.
All right, y'all break it down.
We over.
Y'all headed home.
Yes. It's
Here we go. She's on 5 to 7, 9 to 10 p.m. Fallback Productions. Talks about topics of the day and loves her country, the U.S. of A. Got her Get Right rally on tax day. Got family country Trump is her thing. She don't know the songs, gives Dave a hard time. Don't worry, it's fine. He's still her Valentine. Keeps us in the loop. Don't you know, sit back and enjoy the Lucretia Hughes Show.